Welcome back to Be the Good with Kate, the show that inspires each of us to see how we have the power to make a difference all around us. Each episode highlights an individual doing good in the world while following their passions, good for their own souls and for others. I get so excited about sharing each and every episode of Be the Good with you, and I hope you enjoy these people and stories. If you're new here, welcome, and if you are returning, thank you so much for your support. I'm so glad you found Be the Good with Kate and would love to hear from you. If you're finding value in these episodes, I invite you to share with someone who could also use this dose of good news, or tag me on social with your favorite quote from the episode. Every share, subscriber, review, and comment helps me to share these guests' wonderful work to more people. Thank you for your help in this. In taking classes over the years or observing workout videos, one major piece that is often missing: stressing safety and form. Additionally, group fitness classes are often marketed as being open to all levels, yet how often do instructors not give modifications nor progressions so that each participant truly can get what he or she needs out of the class? So that's why I created the 101 series, which take things back to basics with 3 separate courses: Bar 101, Pilates 101, and HIIT 101, focusing on safety and efficiency so you can maximize your workouts. Be confident when you step into a group fitness class or workout on your own. Be strong in your execution of the most common exercises, and be proud of yourself for taking these huge steps forward on your health journey. Check it out at bebykate.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, onto this week's episode. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world. Today on Be the Good with Kate, I welcome Michele Molitor to the show. She is entitled Your Guide to a Better You. She is the founder and CEO of Nectar Consulting, Inc., and co-author of the best-selling book, Breakthrough Healing. Michele works with executives and entrepreneurs, bringing over 30 years of experience, intuitive insights, and strategic business savvy to their success. Her clients dubbed her the Mind Detective because she's an expert at helping high-achieving professionals remove the blocks created by imposter syndrome, anxiety, overwhelm, and burnout. And boy, are those words that we hear a lot today. Michele's bio goes on, but she is going to fill us in on the rest. So first, Michele, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Kate. It's a real pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, well, right back at you. And like I mentioned before we start recording, I love diving into all you're doing and all you have done. So please tell everybody a bit more about who you are and what you do in your own words.
Sure. So I've been a professional coach for over 20 years now. And about 7 years, I incorporated hypnotherapy into my work. So I have this really unique blend of tools that I use essentially to help people get at both the subconscious blocks that are creating the filters and barriers to their success, and also at a conscious level. So I like to tell folks I create whole brain transformation. So it's really, really exciting to watch people be able to see themselves from a whole new perspective when they take the blinders of fear off and then step into the world more authentically.
Absolutely. And I love too, on your website, you have so many resources, and I wrote down a couple just because I love the word choice too. You have brain candy resources and the self-doubt archetype survey. So you really dive so much into all of these words we hear thrown about, but maybe don't really know the definition of. So tell us more about the path to where you are now, because I know you had a total career change as well.
I did. My former career, I was a creative director in the .com world. I worked in web development, building multi-million-dollar sites for big companies. And I was growing a team, and I made some hires very strategically, only to realize that these 2 gentlemen I hired to be my right-hand wingman, if you will, really didn't like working for a woman. And essentially, I got bullied out of my job. And it was pretty devastating. My ego took a big fall. My self-confidence and my self-worth took a big, big crash, right? Really kind of shattered, scattered, and splattered me all over the sidewalk back then. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. But I didn't feel like that in the moment. Literally, the day I got laid off, I went home and I called my mom to tell her about my bad day. And she's pretty stoic. And she's like, "Well, I'm really sorry you lost your job today. By the way, our friend Al is dying." I was like, "What?" So it really created a perspective shift in an instant. Like, okay, so what? I lost my job. My friend is dying. And it turns out that he had contracted a contagious disease unknowingly, and was embarrassed about it and refused to take the cocktail of drugs that would have prolonged his life. And so he allowed himself to die. And the day that he passed away, a few days later, I said, wow, I can't live my life from a place of fear. So I'm going to put my big girl panties on, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get on with doing it in his honor. Right.
Wow.
It still really chokes me up every time I talk about it, because it just was senseless. It was a senseless loss. And so I'm wondering, if any of your listeners have ever had those kinds of experiences in life where it seemed so senseless because someone was living from fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I really used that moment as a catalyst for me to like, okay, what the hell am I going to do now? And I happened to discover coaching and realized, oh, this was my calling. So I pivoted my career, leaped into the unknown, and have been doing it ever since.
Wow. And I'm curious the timeline. So the day that you found out about Al and you lost that job to the day that you started as a coach, did you try other jobs in between? Did you dive into training? Like, what was that kind of timeline like from a career perspective?
Sure. After getting laid off, I took about 2 months off. And I went and worked for another hot.com startup, right? Oh, we've got $100 million in private funding coming. It's really exciting. We're building this team. I'm like, great. I took that over a solid position at Hewlett Packard. It is what it is, right? Hindsight's coulda, shoulda, wouldas. But 6 months into that position, the private funding from Europe never came. And I found myself laid off again, shortchanged 40K in salary on top of it. And then a month later, 9/11 happened. So in less than a year, my whole world turned upside down. And I was so terrified, Kate, of handing my resume to anyone for fear of getting it wrong, for fear of being judged, that I thought, well, I'll just start my own coaching company and I'll figure it out. And I literally just like put the stake in the stand on October 17th in 2001, and off I went. And I've been figuring it out and fumbling my way through the dark ever since, with great joy and a little terror along the way. No, I'll be real.
There you go. I mean, what is getting out of your comfort zone without a little bit of a mix of those two things, right?
Right, exactly.
Just that like 1 year period of time. I mean, there's so much to pull from there, from just that idea that you started with mentioning about the perspective shift of losing the job versus losing a friend, and then talking about that fear of, I don't know where to go next, so to speak, or trying to figure out what that next step is. And also that element of, it wasn't just an overnight switch, right? It wasn't like you went to bed one night in the tech world and woke up the next day as a coach. Like there were a whole bunch of challenges along the way. And I just love to highlight something like that, because that's important for people too, who are scared of taking those steps to make a huge change. They're like, oh, it's going to take so long, or, oh, I don't know what it's going to entail, or I'll be without a paycheck, or all of that. And you made it work. And so many people make that work. And that is the only way to really find where we're supposed to be, so to speak, right? And find your purpose.
Absolutely. I always say the universe is always pointing you in the direction that your spirit wants you to go, right? But we're not always listening, right? When I was in the .com world, I was working 80 hours a week. I was super stressed out. I was full of anxiety. I was burnt out. But I kept going because I'm super tenacious, right? And sometimes it takes getting kicked off the bus you're on to get on a different bus, right? And in the moment, it hurt a lot. It was really, really challenging. But in hindsight, I could see it was the only way that I would have found the path that I truly was meant to be doing, because I would have been too scared to let go of the really nice golden handcuffs that I had, right? And to step into the unknown. But sometimes when you get a little shove from the universe, it makes all the difference.
Oh, 100%. That's something I've just loved about hosting this podcast too, is getting this constant reminder. I mean, selfishly too, right? Of that constant reminder of, yes, keep always seeking what you love. And so I love when listeners get to hear this too, because each guest brings such a totally unique perspective, but those roots are there of don't stop searching for your purpose and don't stop listening to the universe, like how you put that in perspective. So now you are a coach. Please tell me about those good news moments. I always love to ask about, any of the success stories with clients you'd like to share, or maybe something from publishing your book, any of those stories.
Oh gosh, I can talk about client stories all day. They're my favorite thing because they bring me such joy to watch folks literally transform their lives in such a short period of time, right? So let me tell you about Janae. She came to me with severe anxiety and severe IBS. She'd had IBS, chronic IBS, for 15 years. Right. So it was debilitating. She didn't want to leave the house. She didn't want to go very far away from the house because she wasn't sure how her body would support her. Right. And so with a combination of the work that I do, and we take that deep dive into the subconscious, we're able to find the root causes of the beliefs that often manifest themselves as physical issues in their bodies. Right. And she was able to connect the dots of, wow, I was in high school. My dad was my coach, my basketball coach. And despite being a star player, no matter how well I played, he would berate me on the way home, literally telling me I played like crap, right? All of those words. And she embodied it, right? And she became a hyper perfectionist, which created all of this anxiety in her belly, which manifested as IBS. So 15 years later, she was able to see those connection points and literally change her mind. She changed her mind about herself and those beliefs, and her IBS stopped. It went away and it hasn't bothered her since. And she's been able to go out into the world and experience life more fully. And all of the energy that she spent worrying about, is my body going to be okay? She now gets to pour into her business as an online tutor. She works with kids, helping them learn how to read. So she brings joy to her clients now because she was able to let go of all of that head noise and all of that fear.
And do you find too, like so often as a society as a whole, even we're always putting band-aids on things instead of getting to the roots of the solution?
Yes.
So I love when you said the word, that root. Yes.
Yes. I mean, Western medicine has its place, right? Big pharma has created some amazing things. And I think now a lot of times the cart is put before the horse. Let's come up with some symptoms and give it a name and then make a drug to fix it. Versus, well, why are you anxious? Why are you depressed? Why are you having IBS? What's at the root of that? And so the mind is such a powerful place. I geek out on neuroscience, Kate, all the time. And so
I'm right there with you. I feel like I don't get on a pedestal about a lot of things, but this, oh yeah, keep going.
Right. And so when we recognize how powerful our mind is, and when we choose to decide something, good, bad, or ugly about ourselves, your body's like, okay, I'm all in, I'm down for that. And your body will maintain that stance, right? There's the part of your brain, the amygdala, right? Your fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. I call her Amy, Miss Amy G. Dalla. She's the one who's looking out for you, just trying to keep you safe, right? But if Amy's working off of bad information, of old, outdated beliefs that no longer serve you, it is your job to consciously change your mind about those beliefs. So Amy gets the new memo and goes, oh, we are enough. We are worthy. We are lovable. Okay, got it. And then moves you in that direction and doesn't create the physiological reactions in your body that those old beliefs create. Because Essentially, all of those old beliefs, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not valued, I'm not enough in any way, shape, or form, happened because somewhere in your life, somebody said something to you or did something, created an experience that violated your dignity, your sense of value and worth. And every time our dignity is violated, our body has a physiological reaction as if we're being attacked. Amy's like, whoa, right? The saber-tooth tiger is coming after us and we got to run. But we have to learn how to discern that maybe we're not in danger, or maybe we were in that moment in the past, but we're not now. So getting your brain to rewire itself is a process, but it can be done a lot faster than you think.
I feel like this is like a coaching session in and of itself, all of this amazing wisdom and advice for people here, for sure. And are there any sayings or mantras that you find yourself going back to with clients, or even in yourself, just going through this process as a coach?
Well, anytime that I'm caught in an anxious moment, because we all still have anxiety, it's about how quickly you can calm it and quiet that nervous reaction, right? So anytime I find myself with my head starting to spin, I'm like, no. You have to change your perspective, because the more you think a thought, the more deeply connected those neural pathways become in your brain, right? And then you start manifesting your reality from that place. So you have to change your perspective. And so this is my personal go-to, right? It's very simple. I breathe in love, deep breath in, I exhale gratitude. And I just repeat that to myself as I breathe deeply, because the deep breathing calms your nervous system and it changes the tape in your mind, right? And then you can focus on, oh, what am I grateful for, right? And that's a whole different energetic vibration than I'm worried this isn't happening. That's not happening the way I'm expecting it to or wanting it to. So letting go of the expectations and bringing yourself back to present moment and just breathing.
That's so good. That is so good. I'm going to clip that piece out. I already know that is going to be a featured clip. That was spot on for sure. And something else you made me think of, that curious if you got to comment on even further with this changing in perspective and how we talk to ourselves. I know as a person in the fitness industry as well, with clients and that I work with, there's a lot of that, oh, well, I'm not a morning person, or, oh, well, I'm a sugar person, or I'm a this person, or I'm not a that person. And I see that so often. And it's like when people start to change what they're saying, that almost classic fake it till you make it, right? You don't want to smile, make yourself smile and see what happens. That kind of thing. Like if we stop telling ourselves, okay, I'm not a morning person, maybe you will be able to wake up even 15 minutes earlier, or I'm a sweets person, I have a sweet tooth. You stop talking to ourselves like that. How else can we talk? Say, I live a healthy life, I make healthy choices. And I'm fascinated by all of that too, about that rewiring of the brain. So I'm sure, like you've mentioned too, in various ways, like this is something that comes up with clients all the time.
Oh, totally. I recently had a client who came to me because she had a sugar addiction, right? She's like, I am binge eating whole bags of M&Ms every day, right? And she's like, I know this is bad for me and I know I don't want to do it, but I can't stop. I'm like, okay, great. Right. So this is a perfect example for someone who's like, successful in her own right. She's smart, she's talented, and yet there's this one thing that she can't seem to kick, right? She doesn't know how to shift her thinking. And so the hypnotherapy allows us to get at the root cause. And of course, for her, it was this anxiety and the fear of not belonging, the feeling of not belonging in our own family, right? And so sugar became her comfort food, right? To fill the proverbial hole that was left by the bad behavior of her siblings, right? And so once we got at the root of that, and she was able to realize, oh, I'm not that that child anymore. I'm this grown woman now, and I can make different choices and I can tell myself better things. Within a week, she literally stopped eating sugar.
Wow.
Like she got rid of it out of the house. She started eating healthy meals. She even started doing little exercises. Like she'd walk into the kitchen, she'd have a moment, and she'd unconsciously get up from her desk and walk to the kitchen to get sugar. And she's like, why did I come to the kitchen? Oh, maybe I'll have an apple. I think I'll have an apple. Okay, great. And then she'd like do some push-ups on the counter. And then she'd go sit back at her desk again. I'm like, yes, I love that.
Yes,
Right?
client success.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh. I love hearing these stories. And Michele, something I've been asking all my guests this past year that I love hearing all the different answers for is, if someone came to you, they see what you're doing, they see all the good you're putting out in the world, they said, I want to make a difference. I don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. Is there any advice you'd give them?
Absolutely. So for anyone who's looking to make a difference, to be of contribution, to bring your light, your gifts, your unique talents to the world, first find your why. Why do you want to do that? Right? Get grounded in that, and then set your goals. What's your personal goal? What's your professional goal for taking those steps? For the sake of what? I want to do this in the world because I know it's going to help my community, or this particular group of people, or this particular cause, because it brings me joy and it's aligned with their core values, right? So when they're really clear on that, then it's much easier to start putting the little tiny baby steps into place so that they don't get overwhelmed. And anytime that you do start falling into that spin of, oh my God, there's so many, I have to do this and I have to, and all that noise, pause, create a state change, breathe, bring yourself back to present moment, and then ask yourself, what's needed now? What's needed in this moment to take that one next step?
There's been so much actionable advice here today, Michele. I can't thank you enough. And I just want to read for the listeners what you wrote as your mission, because it's part of what you wrote to me originally. And I just love this. So just to really drive home, you said, my true calling and purpose to help entrepreneurs and executives step beyond the edge of their comfort zone, to find their voice and stand fully in their confidence. And everything you have told us today absolutely paints that picture. And I just love how you put that all together in that statement. So thank you for what you do. And please tell everybody where they can find out more about you, your book, your offerings, where they can find you.
Sure. So you can always come visit me anytime at michelemolitor.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and Instagram under Rapid Rewire. And I'm always happy to have a confidential and complimentary clarity call with anybody who's curious about how this work can really support their growth and their well-being, whether that's personally or professionally, right? And I'd love to have a chat with anybody, and I'm always happy to make new friends. So please come find me, and you can check out the free self-doubt quiz on my website. And if you're ready to dive in, come check out my How to Become Unshakable membership. It's an online membership full of learning and master classes and guided meditations and coaching and so much more. All the details are there on my website.
Wonderful. Michele, thank you so much. You have us all breathing more fully here today. I thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's been my sincere pleasure. Thank you, Kate. What a joy.
Thanks so much for listening to Be the Good with Kate Chericello. Whether you're listening on YouTube or via podcast, it would mean the world if you liked, subscribed, and or left a review. You heard about the good? Now go out and be the good in your life this week. If you have stories of good news that need to be shared, please send me a message. Thanks again, and have a great week.